What's wrong with our rows here? Well, I'm totally aware that the core issue in this query is the same one that we saw in the initial project. Still, I want to repeat some steps here to make sure we memorize what we learned so far, but then of course we'll also have a look at a lot of new features. Because the core issue is that our column names are not the ones we need. We actually would like to have the information from row 2 as the column names. And to achieve this, we have to delete this first row and then turn the second row, which will then become the first row, into the header. Now, which options do we have right here? Well, first, if you click onto a specific row, you can find this menu down here. This menu contains the following information. In the left part, in the first column, you can see the column names. So these names appear. In the second column, you can see all the corresponding fields we have in the corresponding column. To make this a bit clearer maybe, if I select the second row, you see we now have column 1 right here and location ID as the field in the first column of the corresponding row that we selected. That's just a side note here, but this can also help to quickly track which information is stored in that row if you scroll down right here. Otherwise, you have to scroll from the left to the right. Now coming back to our problem with the rows though, we want to remove our first row here. We did that before, so you know we can go to the home ribbon, then go to remove rows and select remove top rows. Alternatively, we could click onto this table symbol here, which gives us access to a lot of options related to our table, well, and therefore to our rows and columns. And here we could also say remove top rows, then define that we want to remove our first row only, so column 1, and press OK. With that, top row removed, already done. But there are more things related to rows that we can do right here, not required for the project, but required for other projects maybe. Therefore, if we again go to the home ribbon, or alternatively select the table as said, we also got other options in remove rows. Clicking here will show us that we have the remove top rows feature we know. We also have remove bottom rows, which is quite self-explanatory. It will just do the same thing, just starting from the bottom of our table. And we also have remove alternate rows. Duplicates, blank rows and errors will be covered later throughout this module. But what is remove alternate rows here? Well, let's find that out. We can now specify a so-called pattern, so kind of a logic Power BI should apply to the content of our table. We first can specify a row we want to remove. Let's say we again want to remove the first row, so row 1. Then we have to specify how many rows should be removed, including this first row. So we could say we want to remove this first row and 3 rows in total. So we want to remove 3 rows. This means we want to remove log ID 4 and 8. So we start here 1, 2, 3. Then we want to keep maybe let's say 5 rows, right? So we remove these 3. Then we keep 12, 24, 28 up to 51. And then we will again remove 1, 2, 3 rows. Then we will keep 5 rows and so on. Let's see if this works by pressing OK. And as you can see, now we only have 12 until 51, and then we have 31 until 52, and so on. And if I undo this last step right here in our applied steps column by clicking onto this X, you can see that we removed the first row, and we said that we want to remove 3 rows in total, so 1, 2, 3. Then we keep the rows from 12 up to 51. Then we removed 1, 2, 3 rows, and then we kept 31 up to 52. Therefore, we defined a so-called pattern right here. So this can also be done with this remove rows option. Besides that, we saw that we can also keep specific rows. In this case, we used keeping and removing rows together, but we can also isolate that. So if we go to keep rows, you can see we can also say that we only want to keep a specific amount of rows starting from the top, starting from the bottom, or again, a specific range. Here, this would work differently. We could say we want to keep the first row starting in row 2, and then we want to keep 10 rows, for example. This would result in a total amount of rows of, well, 10, as you can see it right here. These are the basics when it comes to keeping and removing rows. There is one last step missing in our first query though, because, well, our header is still not correct, so we should change this. We can do this by selecting the Use First Row as Headers option in the Home ribbon, so let's do so. And with that, our first query is cleaned. And as I mentioned before, we don't have to do this manually if we activate the automatic type detection, but for educational purposes in this course, we deactivated that. Therefore, let's also quickly check our second query. Here we have the same problem. As you can see, the first row should be the header. So alternatively, we could now go to the transform ribbon and select use first row as headers right here. And finally, we can go to the third query. Here we have the same problem again. So let's click onto the table symbol and select use first row as headers right here. As you saw, we use the same feature in 3 different areas now. This again is a convenience feature of Power BI Desktop. As a side note, in case you're not happy about what you did right here, so that you say I don't want to have this first row to be the header, you can undo this step right here in the applied steps column, or you can again go to first row as headers, click it in the lower part of the button, and now say the headers should become the first row. If you do so, you have the initial state back. Not what we want, I would say, therefore let's undo this, but this is how you can also use this use first row as headers option. So these were our first step related to rows, but we are not done yet. Because if I, for example, switch to our second query, well, then we have these NA fields in here. And we shouldn't keep these because we want to have clean data. Therefore, we have to dive a bit deeper into rows now.